In one of the remote villages of ancient Persia, where towering mountains and starlit skies stood as silent guardians of the people, an ancient fear took root in their hearts. A legend spoke of a demonic being called Owl, who preyed on new mothers in the darkness of night, sometimes replacing their newborns with sinister creatures, leaving behind an eternal curse. This story recounts a family ensnared by the terror of Owl, a horror that spanned generations. In one of the mountainous villages, mud brick huts lay in heavy silence under the faint glow of the moon. A cold wind blew through the valleys, its howls like moans from another world. The villagers, their hands calloused from daily toil, returned home and bolted their doors at night. Tales of Owl, a demon with a blood-red face and a blue gleaming knife, wove through their whispers. Children, their eyes wide with fear, listened to these stories, while mothers, filled with anxiety, drew their cradles closer. In a small hut, a pregnant woman was haunted by nightmares. She saw a gaunt, skeletal woman with fiery eyes standing over her cradle, a reed basket in one hand and a knife gleaming in the dark. Each night she awoke screaming, and her husband, a calm but worried man, held her close. He whispered, "It's just a dream." But a wise old man from the village, his eyes full of secrets, warned, "Owl appears in dreams to prepare your mind. On the 6th night after birth, she will become real." The woman, her heart heavy with fear, looked at her belly and vowed to protect her child. To confront the danger, the villagers sprang into action. The man of the house, who had inherited an iron sword and old nails from his ancestors, placed them carefully by the doors and windows. The village women, draped in colorful shawls with trembling hands, poured harmala seeds into a copper vessel and set it over the fire. The pungent scent of harmala smoke filled the hut like an invisible shield. An elderly woman with charcoal in hand drew ancient symbols on the ground, lines said to trap malevolent spirits. Amid the smoke and shadows, prayers to Ahura Mazda were chanted, "O eternal light, save us from the darkness of Ahriman." The day of the birth arrived. In a hut filled with candlelight and the scent of harmala, a baby was born. The child's cries, like a bell in the silent night, echoed through the village. Women brought hand-woven fabrics and bowls of wild honey with weary smiles. But their joy was fragile. The elderly women whispered softly, "The 6th night is near. Our lies in wait." The mother, still weak from childbirth, gazed into her baby's eyes, sensing something hidden in their depths. The man, iron knife in hand, stood by the cradle, swearing nothing would harm them. Days passed and the 6th night arrived. The air was heavier than ever, as if nature itself sensed the presence of something sinister. Black clouds shrouded the sky, and the moon was but a faint shadow. The fire in the hearth dimmed without reason, and the harmala smoke meant to protect seemed weak against an unseen force. The village dogs barked restlessly, and the sheep in the stables bleated in distress. The mother, holding her baby, felt something lurking in the dark. She whispered to her husband, "Its eyes. They don't seem like its own." The man, his eyes filled with doubt, looked at the baby and shuddered. In the dead of night, amidst a deathly silence, the hut's door creaked open with a piercing sound. A cold wind rushed in, extinguishing the candles. At the threshold stood Owl, a gaunt, skeletal woman with gray skin, her face red like fresh blood, and a clay-like nose gleaming in the dim light. Her eyes burned like twin flames in the dark, and her tangled hair writhed like black serpents. In one hand she held a reed basket, in the other a knife with a blue gleaming blade. A wail rose from her throat, a sound that seemed to come from the depths of another world. Al lunged toward the bed with inhuman speed. The man attacked with his iron knife, but the demon's copper claws sliced through the air. The mother screamed, clutching her baby tightly, but Al, with a swift motion, placed the reed basket over the cradle. An eerie light emanated from the basket, and the baby vanished in a thick cloud of black smoke. When the smoke cleared, another being lay in the cradle, a newborn with deep, black eyes as if devoid of a soul. Al vanished into the darkness with a fiendish laugh. The next morning, the mother stared at the cradle. The new infant, with cold skin and eyes that seemed to know too much, gazed back at her. The villagers, alerted by the previous night's screams, gathered around the hut. An elderly woman whispered, "This is Al's doing. This child is not one of us." But the mother, tears in her eyes, held the baby close and said, "He is my son." The man, his face etched with doubt, gripped the iron knife tighter. As the child grew, strange events plagued the village. Crops withered without cause, and the village well dried up. Dogs barked every night toward the house where the child lived, and other children were afraid to play with him. His black eyes, now walking, seemed to draw everyone into their depths. One night, an old man claimed he saw a shadow resembling Al near the house, as if still watching the child. The child, now a young boy, displayed unnatural behavior. He stayed awake at night, muttering in an unknown tongue. Objects in the house moved without reason, and sometimes a sinister laugh echoed from his room. The mother, still believing him to be her son, tried to ignore these signs, but fear took root in her heart. The man, now terrified of the being, slept by the door with his iron knife in hand. One night, the hearth's fire flared suddenly, bathing the hut in red light. The boy stood in the center of the room, his eyes gleaming like two black pits. An invisible force seemed to surround him. The sheep in the stables died one by one, and a howl like owls echoed from afar. The villagers, panic-stricken, gathered around the house and chanted prayers louder, but no prayers seemed to affect the being. The elderly women, armed with iron tools and lit torches, resolved to uncover the truth. They brought the boy to the village square and drew a circle of harmala and symbolic lines around him. As the harmala smoke rose, the boy let out an inhuman scream, and his eyes glowed red like owls. The mother, with tears and cries, tried to reach him, but the man held her back. An elderly woman said, "This child is Al's offspring. He has brought the curse with him." The villagers, driven by courage born of desperation, raised their knives and iron pokers. The boy, as if controlled by another force, lunged at them. But when an iron nail came near, he recoiled, screaming in pain. The harmala smoke thickened, and the symbolic lines glowed. Suddenly, Al's shadow appeared in the smoke, as if to reclaim her child. The man, with his shining knife, leaped at the shadow and plunged the blade into its heart. The shadow dissolved into a cloud of black smoke, and the boy collapsed motionless on the ground. The next morning, the boy returned to a normal state, his eyes no longer bearing that demonic gleam. The mother, with a broken heart, held him close, but doubt lingered in her soul. The villagers, exhausted from the battle, resolved to strengthen their protective rituals. Fires remained lit, harmala was burned, and prayers were chanted louder. But everyone knew Al's shadow would never fully vanish. Do you believe a demonic being could hide in human form? Are there tales in your culture of creatures like Al that spread curses among people? Share your thoughts with us.